has been utilized by man for centuries, inasmuch as it is found in a free state in many areas of the world. Thin sheets of copper can easily be hammered into unique configurations after they have been annealed. A wide range of finishes can be created on its surface. Copper tubes and wire offer the artist a great deal of freedom, flexibility, and fluency in the production of ideas for his sculpture. Small copper tubing can easily be bent, attached, reformed, and brazed. For linear constructions, which may later enclose an area for a feeling of solidarity, the tubes can be quickly cut with a torch and brazed with a coated bronze brazing rod. The burning out of certain areas adds textural qualities and modifies the material. The addition of bronze rod continues to change the shape of the tubing. Added for texture and color variation, the projections give the tubing greater mass. The interweaving of planes created in a rectangular manner begins to create a more solid mass in the sculpture. Tubes of copper need not be used alone in the construction. They can readily be combined with other forms of copper as well as with other materials and metals to form relief or full round structures. Larger copper pipes present a great many possibilities for creating sculpture, and they require a larger tip for heat. The pipe can be cut with a torch or with a hacksaw or an electrical saber saw when it is held securely in a vise. Projections can be added to the large pipe form by using soft copper wire or electrical wire with a coating removed. A smaller copper pipe is attached to the hippo with a low-temperature phos copper rod. This rod is used for creating textures on the surface as well as to fill open areas and gaps. The blue patina was induced by the use of household ammonia. For additional visual interest, some of the smooth edges on this wall sculpture have been burned with a torch, while the inner surfaces of some of the pipe sections are textured with brazing rod. When securing two pieces together, it is best to coat the edge of each piece with brazing rod before applying heat. When acids are applied to the front of the piece, many colors are produced. The discoloration caused by the heat of the torch is still retained in some areas. In annealing sheet copper, the metal is heated to a dull red color, and it is then permitted to cool in the air, or is dipped in water. A sandbag makes a good surface on which to form the copper using an ordinary peen hammer. This method involves shaping and forming the metal by pressing, twisting, and hammering a relatively thin sheet of copper from both the front and back. While a chasing hammer is useful for creating textures and for working in the smaller areas, the use of a planishing hammer produces a smoother surface. This large owl is an example of hammered sheet copper. The original conception of the piece may change a great deal during the hammering and annealing process. The flux-coated rod increases the speed of brazing, and the artist must move quickly when working on thin sheet copper to avoid burning the metal. After the nose was partially formed of thin sheet copper, it was modeled with a brass rod to the desired shape. By using a pre-formed patch, an area that was not properly formed or that was dented in fastening the larger pieces together can be revised. The construction used in this container employs a number of techniques and materials. The ring was made from a thin copper wire, which was forged on an anvil. When finished, the prong is quenched in water to pop off the excess flux and to clean the copper and bring highlights to the brass. The center wire of the prong is tipped with brazing rod before it is attached to the container. Many kinds of stones may be selected to give added richness and sparkling highlights to finished pieces of copper sculpture. In this landscape, the copper was annealed, then hammered and annealed a second time to allow the copper to stretch enough to form a higher relief. In order to make the highly formed copper projections more rigid and three-dimensional, the artist used the brazing rod for modeling. The rich red and brown tones, as well as the black oxidation caused by the intense heat, were later utilized as the final finish. To define an area more sharply, the edge of a flat copper wire is added. For additional color variation, nickel silver was modeled to create a slightly raised effect on the mountain ridges. Small copper pieces from the scrap pile suggest many possibilities, since they can readily be formed into any conceivable arrangement. The use of the pre-cut scraps make it possible to construct a figure in a very short time with little effort spent in forming the pieces themselves. Here, the hand was cut from thin sheet copper with a pair of snips. The fingers and thumb were then formed by bending them with pliers. In a slightly different manner, the feet are fashioned. One of the beautiful properties of copper is the many possible finishes which can be applied to and created on its surface. The use of cold acid baths produces many exciting color ranges. Here the torch melts enamel on copper for another color variation. A saturated solution of salt and vinegar may be used for cleaning copper and for creating a mellow green-blue patina. For the patina, The solution is applied a number of times over a 2 or 3 day period. If oxidation of copper is desired, it can readily be accomplished with the use of liver of sulfur in a fairly concentrated solution. The color range of cold acid patinas is from black, brown, red and pink to yellow-green, green, green-blue, and blue. The use of a sprayed lacquer, acrylic, or resin finish is a method not only of stopping the action of the patina, but of bringing out the rich colors that have been created. Sculpture intended for outdoor use would not receive a spray finish, but would be allowed to weather naturally. Some interior pieces of sculpture require a suitable base. This growth form, in contrast to the torso made from scraps, was deliberately cut with snips from sheet copper and soldered together with a phos copper rod. This female figure was created by a combination of 2 working methods, that of forming in the body areas and that of attaching long, thin copper scraps for the arm and leg portions. The small tubular construction was secured to a 1/4-inch steel plate for a base. This large tubular relief sculpture was polished with a wire brush and ground with a rotary rasp before the final spray finish was applied. Steel was utilized for the base of this formed container. A suitable metal paint, such as polyvinyl acetate, can be used for rich color highlights. Modeling the brazing rod with the torch created built-up areas as well as color changes. Small pieces of sheet brass gave added textural interest. To accomplish the color changes, cleaning was done with acid. A wire brush attached to an electric drill was used for polishing the highlights. The sculptor is limited only by his own flexibility, fluency, and inventiveness when using the torch, metal, rods, and acids in the creation of works of lasting beauty in the world of art.